Welcome to Bitesize Edge. It's been a while, so we thought it'd be a good idea to get a few more podcasts going and interact with you guys on a more regular basis. And today I thought it would be a really probably poignant and timely opportunity to actually speak to Jools. So for those of you that don't know who Jools is, Jools Montague is my co-director at Edge NLP. Jools, you can say more about this yourself, I'm sure, but Jools is a mother of two children, one at secondary school, age 12, and one at junior school, age 10. And the reason I give you that information is one of the things I thought we could focus on today is the very topical subject of lockdown 3 and the impact that it has with children, but also of the parents, or the impact it has on parents also of children. So Jools, over to you. So what's different? What's different for you with lockdown 3 to lockdown 1 and 2?
What's different? Let me think about that for a moment. It's feeling very familiar, to be honest, lockdown 3 to lockdown 1. I think lockdown 2 was different because the children were still being able to go to school. So there was a lot more time and energy that could be focused in on work, as opposed to, obviously, as a mum and a parent, prioritizing two little people or not so little. Again, I think this time round, I was prepared for the fact that my eldest wasn't going back to secondary school straight away after Christmas. But like many parents with primary school children, that 8 p.m. Boris Johnson chat to the nation was one where we all kind of just sunk a little bit further into our sofas, sighed and thought, oh, how are we going to do this all over again? And we are, we're managing and we are moving forward. But it's a real challenge, I think. It's a real challenge for any parent, or anybody actually at the moment, from, how the economy is and how all the industries are playing their part or not. And so, yeah, it's a challenge. It is a challenge. But I think the difference between lockdown 3 and lockdown 1 is more prepared for it, if that makes sense.
And seemingly, according to Boris and the health officials, actually lockdown 3 is quite strategic in order to enable us to get sufficient vaccinations in place that the world can open up again, as opposed to lockdown 1 being completely reactive to something so totally new for us, which also kind of leads me to think about, children react in a very different way to parents, to also adults, full stop. As an adult, we have the tendency to project our view, our however many years worth of life and living and cynicism at times onto a situation for children. I think that can happen. But I think I said to you the other day, I read a really interesting article that someone had shared on social media around a lady who said for 4 years she didn't go to school while the war in Bosnia continued. For 4 whole years she missed education. But here she is, a degree, she's got a degree, she's got a fabulous job, she's a mother, she's a wife, and all the rest of it. In essence, saying your kids are going to be okay.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We did discuss that, and I do remember you saying that to me. And I suppose as parents, we parent very differently, and we will have our own thoughts and opinions around education and academia as a whole. Now, I have 2 very different children from a learning point of view. My eldest, if you were to label, which I really don't like labels, would be the less of the academic and more of the creative. So actually, for me, I see this as a great opportunity for her to grow in independence, and also have more time to really nurture her creative side. The flip side of that is because she's not as academic as other children, getting her to remain motivated in a home environment, sitting at her desk in her bedroom for however many hours a day doing virtual lessons, is a real challenge.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that, I have what people would label a more academic child who is very self-sufficient, very happy to get on and learn herself. Now, what doesn't worry me, and maybe it's because my children are at year 5 and year 8, is the idea of the impact on their ongoing opportunities and achievements. So just as you said there, for 4 years of having no education, this individual still managed to achieve all she wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not an individual who went to university. I got into university and I chose not to go. I chose drama school, so I chose the creative element to it, much to my parents' disapproval. And I had to really work at school. I wasn't naturally academic. I had to put the work in, and I was middle of the road all the way through. So for me, the idea of education and academia doesn't necessarily have such a huge impact. I think social skills, I think, as I said, their independence, resilience, so many other elements and skills need to be looked at while we move through this time. Education is not everything at this moment in time. And I'm sure I'm going to be shot down in flames by some people listening to this.
Well, that's okay, isn't it? Because everyone has an opinion, and that's the beauty of the world that we live in. So one of the things you talked about there also was, that there are many other things to consider outside of education. Mental well-being for little people, not so little, I appreciate. But also, what about mental well-being for you as a parent? So, you work, you've got a career.
Have I?
Well,
not sure where it's gone currently, but apparently so.
Yeah, there's a career there and everything else that sits alongside it. I mean, what's the impact of this for you, and how do you manage that impact?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to lie and say it's all good. Lockdown 1 was incredibly challenging, very much so from my own kind of mental wellness point of view, if you like. And I know many, many, many parents and those who don't have children really faced a massively challenging time, a really unfamiliar place. I don't suffer with mental health problems or depression. But if I'm really honest, I felt I was getting very close to getting to that very, very dark place. I think something you said earlier on really resonated, keeping the black dog from the back door. And I found myself battling on a daily basis to do just that. Because when you're used to being very much with people, traveling for work, meeting new people constantly, being in a different training room every day, and variety being really important to you, then suddenly you're thrown into the same environment every single day with the same individuals, aka my children. It was hugely challenging. Add to that my freelance work all disappearing overnight, so massively worrying financial times, and purpose. I think most days I woke up going, what's my purpose? And if I'm honest, it was getting through the day was the purpose. So really, excuse my language, shitty time in lockdown 1. And I think one of the key things that am focusing on, and again, we're only on maybe day 3, I'm finding incredibly challenging already, is not allowing myself to fall back into that place of kind of mental unwellness, if you like.
So it's interesting there, Jools, that you used the phrase "not allowing myself" to fall back
Very
into.
NLP term, is it?
No, not at all. I'm an NLP master coach, but yeah, not allowing yourself to. So, kind of, if you're not allowing yourself to, I'm just going to throw back proper NLP, response to that.
Yeah.
What can you allow yourself to do if you're not going to allow yourself to go to that place?
I think it's about acknowledgement, isn't it? So when I say not allow myself to go there, I think it's acknowledging where I currently am and making different choices.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bit that can be so, so difficult.
Yeah.
And so much is out of our control. So what choices can I make? Be that this time round, really concentrating on my health, my fitness, the whole dry January, just not.
That's all about, eh?
Yeah, what's that all about?
I saw a fabulous post again on social media. Someone had posted their calendar for the month, and on, I think it was the 3rd of January, it said dry January, and on the 5th of January that was all crossed through massively, and it said get pissed January.
Oh,
which I thought was fabulous.
Yeah.
How easy it would be to sink into that scenario.
Absolutely. And I know I did first time round, where it felt like we were just on holiday. The weather was different, and a lot was different at that time. Whereas this time, I recognised that didn't serve me at all. So just keeping a routine, setting the alarm, getting up, having that morning routine, getting out the door, going for a run, whatever that looks like. Just doing something on a daily basis, which is just my time.
Yeah.
Because that can be also incredibly frustrating for those parents who are trying, and it is a trying to work. And if you work for yourself and there's not a lot coming through the door, and you're trying again to manifest and create work for yourself, having the headspace to do that when trying to homeschool is really, really challenging.
Yeah, and I imagine, I don't know, do I know? Yes, I do know. I imagine that there is an element of guilt that comes alongside that, from a perspective of making that time for yourself to be pursuing work opportunities, or at least keeping contact with people when you've got 2 children, or however many children you might have, for those people listening, wanting your attention and actually needing your attention at times just to keep them on track.
Yeah. And also being aware of their own mental wellness and their own resilience, and, keeping them focused and motivated so that they're not sinking into this level of going, what are they going to be about?
So a question for you, Jools, to kind of in some ways bring this one to a close. What's your view? What is your view on how much of this? So you've got 2 highly intuitive little people, right?
Yeah.
Who will ask you at a drop of a hat, "What's wrong, mummy?"
Yeah.
It's almost like a mantra. So in some ways, what's your view on how open you want to be, or feel is appropriate to be, when you're managing your own mental wellness, to share that level of information with children or not?
God, there's a question and a half.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just thinking, for a lot of parents, one of the places that they can go to, and I think about myself when I'm feeling stressed, which when I'm trying to balance everything, will be I get frustrated and I get snappy.
Yeah.
So is it about sharing with the kids that I get frustrated and I get snappy because I'm feeling under pressure? And then does that actually put that ball of responsibility on their shoulders because they're intuitive and they respond that way? Are you with me?
Yeah, I do. And I think I don't have the answer, to be honest. It's that whole moving into a territory of parenting where I go, where's the book? Where about how I do this bit? Because clearly there is no book. I think there is a need for a level of honesty, and equally a need to understand that I have, 30 plus years on these little people, all of which comes with experience and living that they haven't had. And the one thing I would never want to do is put any worry or, as you've just said, that ball of responsibility. And equally, when they notice that there's something up, not just to say no, nothing, but to
Yeah.
said, you know what, right now I'm feeling really fed up, or I'm feeling really unhappy, or I'm feeling like I could do with something going right for me today, whatever it might be, but not necessarily digging deep into the, well, actually, I'm really worried about money and I'm worried about how the mortgage is going to get. I don't think we need to go into that level of detail.
No.
But being able to talk about emotions, I think, is really important.
Okay. Excellent. Thank
I
you,
don't know.
Jules. If I was going to, I did give you a question which was really difficult to come back with an answer, so well done there. If I was going to leave it if I was going to leave this podcast with one thought, and then I'll ask you for yours, and it's a kind of a bit of a mantra I've been playing out for myself the last few days, which is the whole control the controllable.
Yes, I like that.
So there's a shed load of stuff going down that I have absolutely zero influence over. And I'm not just talking about being in lockdown. I'm talking about the ripple effect of being in lockdown. I have zero influence over a number of areas within that. So what I'm focusing on is controlling the controllable.
Yeah, I like
What
that.
about you?
That. I think there's a couple of things for me. I think I really, really like that. If, being able to actually just see what those controllables are and acknowledge that there are, even in this situation, there are things we can control and we do have choices and we do have power over, because it can feel really disempowering. I think that's a word that comes to mind very much so, especially for lockdown one, that feeling being totally disempowered. But for me, it's, and you'll know this one because it's mine that I use all the time. Generalization. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Really easy to give that piece of advice out to people, not so easy to actually heed it myself. So it's the be kind to yourself, and also that whole element of baby steps. It just keep moving forward in whatever way, shape, or form that may look like, feel like, sound like. Just keep moving forward. Otherwise, it just becomes stagnant, and that's where I think the mental wellness can be questioned.
Thank you, Jules. Appreciate
You're
your
welcome. That was all a bit deep and meaningful.
yeah, but it's relevant, isn't it? It's all relevant. That's the thing. It's let's not shy away from what's going on right now. Let's address it and face it. If you don't know where you are, you have no idea where you're going to go. It's a starting point of
Absolutely.
many things that we talk about when we're running our courses, and
Yeah.
ever present in what we're doing. And crikey, as much as I would like to be donning Wonder Woman pants every moment of the day, thankfully I don't, because I'm equally human.
Yeah.
But it's just recognizing where you're at, the resources you've got available, and then control the controllable. So
I'm going to
thank
steal that
you.
one. Thank you.
Oh, I'll let you. There's small royalty attached to it. I'll talk to you about that later. So for those of you listening, thank you for joining us. You can find our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and however you might, and on Google Play now as well, actually,
And
and also
YouTube.
on YouTube. You were about to say that,
Yeah,
Jules?
I was. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And on YouTube. So come and join us again, and listen to our many podcasts as we go through Lockdown 3. Jules, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Pip.